This week on Case Studies with the BizDoc, it's Stripe. Let's take a look at what happened with the next two tranches of funding. After that January tranche, at a $1.7 billion valuation, validating them as a member of the Unicorn Club, they raised $70 million. General Catalyst leading that and coming along to add to its previous investment at a $3.4 billion valuation, which is double the valuation earlier that year. And then just months later, they raised $100 million at a $4.9 billion valuation. That's a big number, and there's only one word for that, and that is damn! That is a huge increase on valuation in such a short time. It is on Elon Musk's rocket to Mars. Well, they made that money last just shy of 2 years. And then in November of 16, they raised another $150 million at a $9.1 billion valuation. That's almost good for another dam. This time, Capital G was part of it. Capital G is a venture fund inside Google. Remember I mentioned Amex and corporate venture capital? Well, if you take a look, you have Capital G, Visa, and Amex. Strategic investors were now in the boat along with traditional venture investors. What's the difference? A strategic investor is usually referred to as a company not normally in the financial business, but for whom your product or service is strategic to their vision for the future. In other words, venture capital investors are providing venture funding, startup funding in tranches to startups to grow forward for a financial return. When you get Amex and Visa and Google involved, there's a financial return as well because they're carefully managing their CVC fund, corporate venture capital fund, I mentioned a minute ago, but they're also looking for strategic value to be brought to them in services that they can get a hold of and make their own product better. That's the difference between a strategic investor and a venture investor. And strategic investors come along usually later and can often be a key propellant going to the future because they could be a customer. They can also be an early date with someone who's going to be a buyer and write a check for the whole company later on. So that's the history of how they amassed some tremendous venture capital partners and some great strategic partners. Now, if they're head-to-head with PayPal, Tom, why do you think that they were successful? Wouldn't PayPal be the existing choice and just squash all competitors? Well, you might think that, but it's not as easy as that. There's a lot of ways that a fast follower can improve. What a fast follower is nothing more than a second player in the market who's keeping an eye on the leader and doing everything the leader does, but also adding things to it and enhancing the product. In other words, if you watch PayPal go through and you see things that were issues for PayPal, maybe data leakage, fraud, and things like that, and you say, aha, if I build something similar to them, I better address those issues very successfully so I can say, well, I'm better than PayPal because of these things that have just happened. Well, and being a fast follower is similar to drafting and racing. Come up behind the other person, let them push the air out of the way, and pass them when you get the opportunity. It's very much like that in business, and that's what a fast follower is.